Welcome to the Data Channel, and you're watching Python Bootcamp for Data Professionals. And today, as part of this video, we will discuss about Python list in very detail and in action. So the importance of this video is we will be explaining Python list, why exactly it is used, where exactly it is used, and most importantly, we will explain the real-time use cases where exactly the Python lists are actually used or applied, right, with certain examples, right? So before proceeding, if you're new to this channel, we would recommend you to please subscribe and also press bell button for instant notifications. Let's get started. As usual, we'll jump to our VS Code setup. So if you don't know how to set up the VS Code and Python, we have a link in the description to follow. So just install Python and VS Code and you can get started with the Jupyter extension, right? So with that, so let's start exploring about Python list. So firstly, we will understand how to exactly modify the lists, right? And like when we say modify list, how to change the elements, add the elements, extend the list, removing the element from the list, delete the entire list itself. So those operations we will see. Then we will actually see the list operations. So list operations would be like something like concatenation of two lists and the repetition of list, membership training, and so all those things will come under list operations. And also we will, after that, we will discuss about list methods. So list methods are like inbuilt methods, like where like sort is there, reverse is there, we have a index, we have count, we have copy, right? So all this will like clear, all this will be part of list methods. And we'll also see the something important, which is list comprehensive, which Python is exclusively, the Python is a programming language which gives this kind of option. So we will see how it exactly looks like. And finally, we will see some real-time use cases where we can say like actually list a Python list in action. That means we will see a couple of examples where exactly the Python list is used in real time. So as Python is a like a list, Python list is a fundamental data type in Python, and it is used to store the ordered collection of items. So that means the always whatever you store, like maybe 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4, so it will always be stored in this order. So the order will not get changed, and in the memory also it is getting stored in this it is maintaining the order. And whenever you are trying to retrieve the records also, it will actually go from start from the index 0 and it then traverse to the right hand side like 1 2 3 4 until the end. So that is why we call it as a ordered element or ordered data type. And also list is a, it's a mutable. That means suppose I have created a list here, so and then I want to change the list. So I want to, instead of second element 2, I can make it as 5 or 10. So we can easily make it. So let, before that we will actually know how do we exactly create a list, right? So the list is created with, so you can create an empty list. So this is an empty list. So list is always enclosed with a square bracket, opened with a square bracket and closed with a square bracket. So this is how you define an empty list. But if you want to define an actual list, so then with the elements, right? So you can give my list equals to, you can define 1 comma 2 comma 3, right? And then you can give a comma b comma c, something like this, right? So this is also a list. And this list is a combination of both integer and string. So the list doesn't have any restriction that it should be of one particular type. It can have a mix and match of all the data type, and even it can hold a dictionaries, tuples, and other like other data types inside it, right? So, and we have also have a nested list. So nested list is nothing but, so it is a list inside a list. So this is a nested list, right? So because this is the first element, this is the second element, and this is the third element, right? So this is a nested list. And now we have defined the lists, right? But how do we access the lists? So accessing list is also like is using the the indexes, the like it starts with 0 and then 1 2 3 4 and it goes on, right? Suppose I want to access the list here, or access an element in the list, so I need to give the list name and then I can give the index. So 0 is the first index, so that's why it is giving 10. So if you give 1, so then it will give second element, right? So if you give -1, it will give the last element, this element, because -1 will always be, it will always go reverse, right? So this is a 0, and if you give -1, it will go reverse. So if you give -2, it is 40. So -1 is important, right? So that you can always get the last element of a particular list. So this will be helpful when you want to do it dynamically, right? You don't know how many elements are there in the list. Suppose it might be 5 elements now, and it can be growing or it might be shrinking, right? But you always want to get the last element of the list. So if you don't use this one -1, so then you need to take a length of this list and then do -1 of that list and then give that pass that index here, right? So always, like, it would be tricky, or it would be like a rudimentary way of doing it, but here it is kind of a easy way of getting it, right? And next is list slicing. So how do you slice the list? So let's take one more cell here. So this is again my list, right? And list slicing is nothing but you are getting a part of a list and you are cutting the list into multiple chunks. So how do you do that, right? So the first simple way of doing it is, like, you can take a print statement, right? And you can give my list, and then you can give one and then :4. That means you want to slice the list from first element is 20, 0, it starts with 0, right? And first element is 20, it starts with 20 and then go till fourth element. So it is a start element, start index and end index, right? So similarly, if I there is another way of accessing the list or slicing the list without the first part of it. So that means you just give :3. So :3 is nothing but it is as good as giving 0 3. So if you don't give anything, so it considered by default as 0. It's the same thing, right? So you can use this one as a short form of 0 3. And you can have the reverse of it, where you just give 2 colon and then leave blank. That means it will go till second element and then it will take all the elements. So if you it is as good as giving the last element till the last element you want to traverse, right? So last element is 4, right? It is as good as a 2 is to 4. So if you don't want to give 4, you can just, or you don't know the length how much it is, right? So you can just give 2 colon, it will take till the last. And so there is another way where you can even give something like this, where it will always jump to the, it will take start with the first element, jump 2 elements, take this one, start with, and then again jump 2 elements. So it is always jumping by 2 elements. So if you want to jump by 1 element, that means you are getting all the elements, right? So you want jumping one step. It's actually step, every second element or every first element. So every how many elements? If you give 3, so if you give 3 here, right? So it will jump 3 steps. That means 10 it has taken, next 40 it has taken, after that it didn't find any elements to jump. Okay. And you can do a reverse of taking the list as well, right? So how do you reverse the list, right? So reversing a list in Python, or like say not Python, like Java or some other programming language, it would be little tricky. So or C, C++, it would be little more trickier. But here, if you see, you can just give -1 because you want to jump every step, but you want to start from the end. That is -1. So you are giving -1. So that is why you are able to jump in the reverse order here, right? So ::, remember, if you are giving : 2 colons, that means you want to take a step. So you are taking a step here. So you want to jump on every particular iteration, right? So here if you are jumping every particular iteration, but in a reverse order, starting from -1. That means starting from the last element, you want to jump one step back. So we know we have theoretically got to know that list is a mutable. So list is a mutable means you can change the list. So now we'll understand how to change the list. Okay. So we'll take again the simple same example and understand how why we are telling list is mutable, right? So I'll do list of 1 equals to, instead of 20, I'll make 200. So I was able to do that, right? And here let us try to print both and see. First I am printing this. Again I'll print after modification and try to execute this. As you can see, in the first when I printed, it printed exactly whatever was there, right? But whenever I printed second time, it has modified the second element, that is index 1, it has modified from 20 to 200. So that is why we call it as a list is a mutable. That means it can be changed anytime. The elements, it is not immutable, it is actually mutable, which can be changed over the time. So that's why it is having its own use cases that we will see in some time later in this video. And so how do you add elements, right? So like you know how to, so adding element, so this is just modifying, right? But if you want to add an element, so how do you add an element to the list? Again, take the same example. So I want to add maybe one more element to this. So I'll just give my list dot append. And in the append, I want to give say 60. And then print my list. So then you can see the 60 is appended at the end. So append is always at the end, right? So append is like you're already giving the element at the end of the list. You're adding the end element at the end. But what if you want to add the element in the in between or in a particular index of your choice, right? There is still an option. So you can use the insert, which is more flexible than append in this case. So where you can do a dot insert and say I want to do a append of second index and I want to append 15. So second index was 30, right? So now we will see what exactly before and after looks like, right? So before it was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? But now what we did is we have inserted an element in the second index, which is 15, 1, 5. So second index is nothing but after 20. So after 20 it is inserted 15, and then so these elements will be still retained. So you are just inserting in between here. Okay. So that is a insert. And what if you want to extend the list? That means instead of one element, you want to add multiple elements, right? Suppose this is my list, current list, but here we just added one element or something like this, right? In append case. But what if I want to add three elements to this list? Okay. So in that case, it is again quite simple, and intuitive keyword is there. You can just click dot extend, you can give, and in this you can just give say 60 comma 70, right? And then try to print this list. So as you can see, it has extended the list. So you can use any number of characters here. So it will just go on extending the list. Okay. And we can also remove the list. Okay, we can also use a remove, and so let us see how to remove element from the list. It is again a simple. So you can just give my list dot remove, and you can remove any of this, right? I want to remove 20 from this list and then print. So as you can see, it has removed the 20 from this list. Okay. And so there is something called as pop also. Like pop is actually, it is similar to append, right? Append, you are already appending at the end, right? So pop is actually, it will take it from the, uh, like it always pop the end element. So like similarly append. So append will always append to the end. Pop will always take it from the end. So it is the opposite of append. So let us see how exactly it looks like, right? So if I instead of append I use pop. So pop, when you're doing a pop, no need to give anything here because you are just popping the last element. So then once you pop it, so you can print my list here and see how exactly it looks like, right? So it is always popping the 50th element. So see, the summary of this is like with these operations, basic operations is as you can see, like, so we did a insertion, right? Insertion is simple, but append is always at the end. Suppose if you want to insert in the in between, you need to use insert and specify which location you want to insert, which index, and what is the element that you want to insert. And if you want to extend the entire list with multiple values, you can do that. And remove and append are like very remove is always at the, you can remove in between anywhere, right? So it is similar to how you want to like insert. So insert and remove are opposite, and append and pop are opposite. Okay, so it does the same operation but in the reverse one. Append is always at the end, pop is also always at the end, but it is inserting, it is deleting. So remove is always at any middle of the index you can do, or anywhere you can do it. So similarly insert also you can do it anywhere in the middle. So in that way insert and remove are more flexible if you are doing the operations, if you want to do an operation in the middle as well. Okay, so finally we have the delete operation. So delete is, so you just it's very simple, right? Once the if the list is not required, so you can just do a del. So here you can give the index. So then now we will see, try to print. So as you can see the element is deleted from the, it's similar to the remove as well. It's very similar to remove. So we will see the list operations. So one operation we would see is a concatenation. So we have already seen the extend, right? So extend, so you can also do the similar operation using very simple method here. Like you can use this method like where you do list 1 plus list 2. So that will be your list 3, and when you try to print list 3, it will be the combination of or append of both. Like it's like a extend only what we have seen. And what if you want to repeat a particular particular values in the list like in a number of times, right? So in the other programming language you need to use for loop or any kind of iterations, but here it is like you just give my list and like you give star and then you give a number of times. So it is repeating 3 times if you see, right? So 10, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, it is not a, so you need to give list of 1 here. So as you can see it is repeating 3 times. The same array is repeating 3 times, right? So that is how you can repeat the elements without using the for loop here. So it is very similar to how we can repeat the string as well. So string also, if you give string here multiplied by 3 or 30 whatever, so it will just repeat that many times. Okay, so next we will have list methods. So list methods, we have sort and sorted. So first we will take sort as example and see what exactly it looks like. So suppose this is a list, right? And so if you want to see how do we sort, right? It is very simple again. So it's very simple. Like you can just give my list dot sort and then print my list, right? So it is actually sorting the elements in 10, 20, and 30. So it is actually sorting the elements in the ascending order, right? And we also have a, if you want to do a reverse, that is a descending order, right? You can use slash reverse. So it is reversing, but like you want to do it in a descending order, right? First you can sort it and then do reverse. Dot sort, right? And then you can do dot reverse and then print it. So now it is 30 20 10. It is descending order because you sorted it in ascending order, then you did a reverse, which is a descending order, right? And similarly, you can use one more method of sorting. So where it is just sorted, there is a function called sorted. So where you can give sorted list, sorted of my list. So you can just try to print it now, sorted list. So it just gives the sorted value. So this is other way of doing it, but this is a more simple and usual practice. People will use this. And what if you want to know the particular element, which what is the index of that particular element, right? Suppose there is a huge list, right? This is a simple list, but imagine there is a thousands of millions of records in this list. So there is a particular record you want to find which it what is the index of that particular value, right? So then you can give my list dot index of 20. So then it so as you can see, like my list dot index of 20, that means it is giving the index of 20th element, right? It is 1 because it is 0 and then 1 and then 2, right? And you can also do a count of the elements to get the count of a list. So it is again simple. You can just do my list dot count. So it is giving error. So basically here you need to give my list dot, like maybe like you want to count which element you need to give, right? So how many times the particular element is present in this list. Suppose there is 20 is present 3 times. Okay, now if you execute this, so it is giving the count of 20 in this particular list, that is 3 times it is repeating, right? So that is why the count is 3. And there is a copy. So let us see what exactly the copy look like. So copy is just like a cloning a list to another list. So this is a list you already have, so you want to have one more list, so which is basically my list dot copy. So you want to copy this. So let us print my list here and also print new my list here. So both should print the same value because we copied the value from this list to another list. So if I give 40, same thing, right? So once we utilize the list, we can almost if we are end of the program or something, so we can clear the list. So you can just use clear to clear the list, and then if you print my list, so as you can see there is empty list, so it's all we are fully completely clearing the list. So the list is physically present, but there are no elements when you do dot clear. So finally we will see one more very important topic, which is a list comprehensions. So this is very important. Please carefully understand this, what exactly the list comprehension means. Okay, so before understanding list comprehension, suppose you want to traverse a particular list. Suppose this is my list, right? I want to traverse this list one by one and print all the elements one by one. So what we usually do is in another programming language for I in, so my list, and then what we do is this is what we usually do to traverse the list. However, in Python we have a something called as list comprehension. Okay, so you do any operations, right? Like suppose if I want to do a, like if I want to double the values every time, right, into multiplied by 2, so I'll use the for each loop here. So the same operation if I want to do in the Python with the list comprehension, it would be quite simple. So you just need to do take some like another variable called result, and then you can do like I want to multiply it by 2, right? And then for I in my list. Okay, so then you can pretty much print result. So as you can see, it actually did double of all the values and it is able to print, and it is storing in a temporary we are storing it in some another a variable of list of variables. So it is a list comprehension. It is doing the same operation whatever we did here, but here we wanted to have a list, or to iterate the list we were using for loop, but here to iterate a list we are not using for loop, we are using a list comprehension. So let's take some more complex, little complex operations to see the power of list comprehension, right? So as you can see here, we are want to do a squares of each numbers ranging from 0 to 10. Okay, so you want to take a squares of that. So if I execute this, as you can see, it starts with 0 because range starts with 0 and it will go till 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. So 1 it will come. 1 square root is like 1 multiplied by 2, and then 2 will come. 2's double value is 4. Okay, and then 9 3 will come. 3's double value is 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. Similarly, it is taking squares of till ninth row or ninth record, because the range is it is nothing but it is as good as giving 0 to 9. Okay, so it is as good as something like, say, 0 comma 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 7 comma 8 comma 9. So it is as good as this one. So instead of range you can even use list new, it will be the same result, right? And one more example we will take, creating a list of even numbers. Okay, using the list comprehension. So here also you can see we are using list comprehension. So list comprehension syntax is like it will be having a square bracket at the start and the end, and whatever you want to do the for each or if conditions inside the for each loop you can do within this square bracket, and you assign this and it will be able to print the even numbers. Suppose you want to do the same thing using the rudimentary way of doing it or a traditional way of doing it. How you will do is, so you will do for x in range, right? Then you need to give semicolon, come inside, then you need to give x equal to this one, right? And events, right? So events, I need to define one empty list here. If x equals to this one, so then I need to kind of append or add these elements, right, to this list. Append, what we want to append is append x. So then we can print events. So as you can do, it is doing the same operation. Suppose how many lines we are taking here. So here we are taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. But here we are able to do the same thing in 2 lines. So that is the power of list comprehension. So it is more programmer friendly. So and it is more, it will reduce the number of lines. So once you start using it, it will make you like it's more intuitive to actually use. So for complex and starting from simple and simple to complex, you can use list comprehension. So as you see, we can use for each loop is mandatory, but you can use if conditions or something like this. So to replace this kind of operation using a short form of this operations, a traditional operation, you can do it this kind of operation, which is a list comprehension. So hope the list comprehension was you are able to understand. So list comprehension is very important. If you have any doubts, please put in the comment section. I'll try to answer that. So now that we have seen multiple operations, list operations, right? So we have already seen all of these operations, right? So modifying list, creating list, list operations, list methods, list comprehensions. So finally we will take a real-time couple of real-time examples, and so that you can appreciate the need of list or the use of list, right? So let's take a couple of examples. So take an example where uh, maybe you want to kind of manage a to-do list, right? So this is an example. So where you want to have a to-do list, or you are creating an application which will create a to-do list, right? So in that application, you can use this kind of use this list. So where initially there is some set of task, okay, then you want to, whenever a user adds some new task, so then you can add to that list using this, and you can print that. So whenever that is the list is completed, so because it is completed, you can just pop that, or you can remove that, right? So once I execute this, so as you can see, so whenever you printed the first time, so you are created a read book, all right? So that is why it has appended the read book here. And once your buy grocery is completed, right? So buy grocery groceries task is completed, so that's been removed from the list. Okay, then you have only these four elements in the list, three elements in the list. So this is one simple application. Maybe you're developing a mobile application or any kind of application where there is a need of such a to-do list. You can use that. All right. And one more is like storing and manipulating the sensor data. So sensor data, because list is mutable, right? It can be changed. So that is the reason you can use the list for modifying the elements as well. So suppose, as you can see, it is you want to add a particular element, right? You can easily append that, or if you want to kind of update that, so calculate the sum of average, you can do that, right? And you can append or you can change the elements in the particular list. So then you can use it even for certain cases where, like, you want to have a dynamic configurations. Suppose you are having an application where you want to maintain the configuration details. So in that case, you can have dynamic configuration settings. So this is a debug mode, verbose logging, auto save. So multiple levels, right? And suppose if once I print the configurations here, right? So it is like you can see initially it was a different, and then you remove the debug mode from that, right? In a particular scenario you want to disable that configuration, you can remove that element and you can use that. Okay. And say one more scenario is where you have a database operations, where you are performing a database operation, you are bringing the entire table into the list. Suppose this is a entire table, like a user table or employee table, which is stored in the database. So you bring that entire table into one list here. So it's a list of list, it's a nested list basically. And then what you do is you access and modify the data in that, right? So you basically kind of iterate that list, and you can print that, or if you want to update any age of a particular person or a row, you can do that, right? As you can see here, it is just printing as it is, it is iterating and printing as it is the records or the rows, and then it is updating the age basically of a particular person, that is, so it is 0 and then 28, wherever it is 20 it was 28, it is 0 means it is first element of this, right? And then of 2 it will come to 0, and inside 0 it will go to the second element, 0 1 2. That means 28 is updated to 29. So that is why you see here, John's age is updated to 29. Okay, so this kind of database operations you can do, and then write it back to the database table. So which is helpful in any kind of database operations. So we will take more scenarios very specific to the applications, like where you have a e-commerce shopping cart, right? So you have a e-commerce shopping cart scenario, right? Where you just have a shopping cart. When your customer come with a shopping cart, he will be having an empty list. So then as and when he starts adding, you will start creating the list for him, and in that list you will go on adding what is the item ID, what is the or product ID, what is the product actually is purchased, and what is the cost of it, right? And whenever customer removes that, you can remove it from that cart, okay, using these operations. Okay, and then calculate the total price of that list. When once the user gives that to billing, so you can calculate the price, and finally you can give the contents in the cart. So the total price, as you can see, is 999.99, because this element has been removed from the cart whenever the during the customer shopping. Okay, and there is a task scheduling system example, right? So you have a task scheduling in your any application. So and you want to manage that using list. Suppose this is a list, right? Where you have a write report is one of the task, email client is one of the task, update website is another task. But you are specifying the priority. The first priority is always email client. So you can give the priority here. So how do you give the priority based on the if the priority one is means it's the highest priority. So you can use some lambda function or use some sorting to kind of bring this particular element in the top, right? That means it will always take the priority one task at the first. Suppose if I print it, so as you can see, priority one has come at the starting. What is the priority one? It is email task. So that is how you can pretty much use like a list here, right? And this is actually a combination of list and dictionary what we can see, right? So dictionaries we will see in the next couple of videos coming in, but so this is how you can use list. So don't worry about the if it is confusing what is this dictionary and other things, but just consider for now just one dictionary. This is one dictionary and it is just an element in the list, and you are using some list operations here. So this is another example, right? And one more like last example or second last example we want to give is here we will take the example where you want to do handle the API requests. So handling API request is another example. So this is also in real-time scenario. There is a lot of use cases like where you are dealing with the API requests. So as a data engineer or a data scientist or like someone who's working closely with the data. So here, what like this is API request, right? And you just get that response from that request, whatever you are making, and then post it, right? And extracting and display the titles of the first five posts here. So you're making an API request, and so it is displaying the result of first five posts that is there in this particular API request. So the thing here is you are extracting the list. So here it is like actually if you really take it might be having other details as well. If you give 2:5, it gives other all details, right? So we don't want other all details. We just need full entire details, right? 0 to 5, the full list of the details. So that is why it is taking full list here. I mean full name of the particular title. So it's as good as giving 0 is to 5. Okay. And finally, we will see where you have like a financial transactions, right? So suppose you have a financial transaction and lists are used to keep that track of a financial transaction in a financial application. So that examples is like financial transactions. So this is where this is a transaction is a list of dictionaries. So as of now, dictionary you can keep it as a keep it is for next video to understand more in detail, but now you can understand dictionary is a one element. This is one element in the list. It is a transaction of 0, right? And then you are doing some operations here like to calculate the balance of a balance using all this, right? Calculations, and then you print the current balance. Okay, and then you display the transactions that the user is doing, right? Maybe deposit, withdrawal, and then deposit. Let's try to execute this. So as you can see, the current balance before these transactions was taking place was 250. Then he did then what he did is he deposited 100, right? So then after that he did a withdrawal of 50. Okay. Then finally he deposited 200. Okay. So that is how you actually calculate the current calculate all these operations using a list, so you can perform all kind of these operations. So the intention here is not to explain the code in detail, but just giving the scenario based use cases where the lists are actually applied. So you can pretty much go and explore this code. If you want this code, all of these codes, you can just put a comment in the comment section. We'll try to give or send these notes to you so that you can practice this. So we have in this video we have seen all of these examples, right? with the examples we have seen modifying list, creating list, list operations, list methods, comprehensions, and we have taken a real-time example of list where exactly lists can be applied. And if it is really useful for you, we would really want to want you to subscribe, and also if you can share it with your friends and colleagues, so that will be really helpful. And thanks for watching.